Ciao a tutti, di nuovo con il programma, la campagna Piccole azioni, grandi persone che porta avanti Piccole Magazine per tutti voi. Abbiamo di nuovo la stupenda Shruta Rawaj della organizzazione, l'associazione Humsafar, con cui parleremo di un tema molto importante che è considerato ancora un tabù in tutto il mondo, l'HIV. Quindi con lei parleremo in inglese e vi forniremo la rispettiva traduzione. Really thank you again, Shruta, for your time in this interview. We really are so happy to meet you again. How are you?
I'm doing good, Daniel. Thank you for having me back. And it's a pleasure to be on your channel and, to speak about the issues that impact lives of people living with HIV and LGBTQ communities in India. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, we want to know if you in Humsafar are carrying on the program in this month, which in all the world there are a lot of programs about HIV, the fight against the HIV.
So Daniel, yes, Humsafar, since its inception as a formal organization, has observed the World AIDS Day. And in fact, we extend it and we make it the World AIDS Week. And before the entire COVID situation hit us, we would have a range of amazing, I would say rather reflective activities. We would have a memorial service for people we've lost to HIV on December 1st. And then among the following days, we would have a march, like a candlelight march, all the way to one of the oldest community meeting places, in the memory of everyone we've lost. We would host panel discussions. And I feel that with the current scenario where social distancing is so important and everything's gone virtual, what we did was we had a virtual event, a virtual panel discussion to commemorate and remember everyone we've lost to HIV. And along with that, we had a very special screening of a movie that Humsafar made 13 years ago. And it spoke about, lives of 4 people who have recently tested positive for HIV, and from a counselor's perspective. So the movie is up on our YouTube channel. It's called 68 Pages. And anyone who's keen should probably go and take a look at it. It's a very touching story. So yeah.
Oh, so interesting movie.
Thank you. Thank you.
Really, it's a very good activity. So, Shruta, we want to know also how is the situation about the HIV there in your country, because this topic considered is also a taboo in all world. There are a lot of people that don't want to talk about it. How do you do to talk about this in your country?
So that's actually a very interesting question, Daniel. And I believe that one of the challenges lies within the fact that India has a lot of stigma around sex as a topic. And then when you talk about HIV, the stigma is compounded because people associate one's character, one's beliefs with what a good person should be with HIV. So people feel that, oh, someone's HIV positive, that's because they've done something that is wrong. And that is where the stigma comes from. So it's a very challenging conversation to have. I would say that the way we counter this is that the Indian government has implemented HIV programs all over the country. And Humsafar implements them for men who have sex with men and transgender communities in Mumbai. And you have specific populations that are, again, reached out to under government programs. But there's a lot of work that remains to be done, especially once you move out of urban situations, when you go to, smaller cities and smaller towns where people are very hesitant to talk about sex. That's where the conversation lies. I believe some of our biggest challenges are the fact that we don't have sex education in schools.
Yeah.
People do not talk a lot about HIV. And a lot of people, unfortunately, get diagnosed with HIV at a very, very, very later stage. So, if you look at the population, I believe that a lot of people first test with opportunistic infections like TB before being diagnosed to HIV, and that delays the time that they are on care, you know. And the other challenge that we have, Daniel, is that among the key populations that are most affected by HIV, a good number of them are criminalized, right? Like sex work is criminalized in India. Injecting drugs is criminalized. Like not sex work per se, it's soliciting. It's a lot of laws that really said, oh, it's okay to, be in sex work, but it's not okay to earn from sex work. It's not okay to solicit. So it's just very vague, but populations are criminalized. Injecting drugs is criminalized, right? Until 2 years back, we were criminalized as an LGBTQ community. So the change is happening, but it'll take its time. We are the second largest number of people living with HIV in the world. We are 2.1 million positive people in India. So, yep, we need to do things.
Okay, so it could be understood as a double stigma, double discrimination.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like, especially if you are a transgender woman living with HIV and in sex work, your stigma is compounded for every level. Like, you're first stigmatized because you are transgender, then you're stigmatized because you're living with HIV, and then you're stigmatized because you're into sex work. So, it's a combination of a lot of factors, and you're right. People do, experience double stigma when they belong to, marginalized communities and are living with HIV. So you're right there.
Okay. How these persons and these trans people and seropositive people, how are they attended in medical terms?
I wish I could give a very positive, report here, but fact remains that a lot of centers and a lot of medical practices are blatantly discriminatory towards transgender communities, and especially when they live with HIV, because there is a lot of stigma towards being transgender. There's a lot of stigma of engaging in sex work, and people are just scared of transgender communities because in India, we believe that transgender communities have the power to bless or curse people. So from childhood, a lot of us are scared of transgender communities, and that fear, further manifests when you are in healthcare practices. I would say that I would rather, like close this on a positive note, this question on a positive note, that in urban situations, people are becoming more accepting of transgender communities, and now doctors realize that, hey, you know what, they are humans too. We need to be inclusive of them. But this is still a very urban, a very educated phenomenon, and this has to still make its way into rural communities, smaller communities. So I would say that the situation at the present isn't great, but it should improve. We should make it improve. Yeah.
Okay, Shruta, there is a very important question. You, as Humsafar, what do you consider more important, desensibilization, education, or the correct information? What is the most important aspect that you can consider in all your activities as Humsafar organization?
So, within our work, I mean, it's very, very difficult to prioritize because everything that you said is very, very integral. But if I had to pick one, I would probably pick education, because when people are made aware and when they are told that this is how you contract HIV, people are more likely to, make informed decisions. A lot of people who test positive, and sometimes when we speak to them, their first reaction is, but I never knew that this is how people could get HIV, right? I never knew that condoms work. I thought that condoms are only supposed to be used for stopping pregnancy, which is why I didn't use it with my boyfriend. I'm a man, I didn't use it with my boyfriend, or I didn't use it with this transgender sex worker, right? So this understanding needs to be given. People need to be taught the right way to use condoms. People need to be taught about what are myths and misconceptions around HIV. Like the first thing that people do when you tell them that hey, XYZ probably, or if I say that, hey, you know what, someone's HIV positive, I wouldn't say that, I wouldn't out people. But the first photo reaction is stigma. Oh my God, keep this person away. Don't eat the same food that they eat. Don't wear the same clothes that they wear. And this needs to be fixed, right? People need to be told that HIV is not a death sentence anymore, that you can live with medicines, that your life can be perfectly normal. So once they test positive, you know, they don't lose hope. So I believe education is the key. That's a very simplistic way of looking at it, but you just gave me one choice, so I had to pick one.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
to end this interview, Shruta, we want to know the message from you, from Shruta personally, and as Humsafar, for all people who is fighting against this time with stigma, with discrimination, with all these kind of situation, also the pandemic situation, but specifically with HIV, that right now, in front of the COVID, this is a very silent topic to talk about. What is your message?
Right. So my message right now would actually be that, that we need to not stop. We have definitely achieved a lot from when we started, and now, we can live with medicines. But I believe that it's important to continue having that momentum and not giving up, thinking that, oh, now we have medicines, now we have PrEP, and now we have condoms, and everything is great. And I believe that as a message to all frontline workers would be, we have a long way to go, because we may have fought HIV. What we haven't fought is stigma. What we haven't fought is discrimination. And what we haven't overcome is equal access to care. And I believe that these three are key towards doing things right. So if anyone wishes to continue the work, these three should be definitely focused on. That is my message. And yeah, one last closing thing would be that HIV doesn't kill anymore, but stigma and discrimination towards people living with HIV is what kills people, in my opinion, today. So that's my one message. Yep.
Thank you very much. Message. Shruta Rawaj from our organization in Mumbai, India. We really thank you. We really appreciate every one of your words, every one of your message and your knowledge. We really have to give you a big thank. So we
You're
hope
kind.
so because we know that UNSAFAR is a very important organization in your country, and you always carry the very important activities, a very important program, and we know that the world is always watching everything that you do, and you do really best. Really, our best regards and buon Natale, as we say here in Italy, and really thank you. Bye, Shruta.
Bye, Daniel. Take care. Thank you for having me again. Bye.